Hey tubers, Bart coming at you. Happy Tuesday. And I got a video response for you. Baseball Collector put out a contest for pet peeves in the hobby. I was hoping to take a couple more notes, but I realized I found myself with a window of time here to shoot this video. And so I'm trying to sneak it in with thoughts somewhat incomplete, but we'll get after it. First and foremost, I try not to have too many pet peeves, things that just ain't for me. I just don't even try to partake or pay attention too much. So perhaps pet peeve is almost a stretch for me to a certain degree, because I just don't even let that negativity pop in. There's enough of that crap. Hobbies this is going to be fun for me, right? So I don't let that stuff mess in. But I've got a couple written down here. First, I will say is people not being genuine. And I think that's one of the things in the good way that you will see. One of the biggest compliments when people in the hobby actually meet each other, they go to card shows, meet each other at National or something, is great person, just like you would expect on the videos. I think that's awesome. A great thing to say about somebody else. And I don't necessarily want to take this route of somebody's nice versus not nice, but it's good to have somebody be who they are and how they represent themselves, as far as what they like, how interesting they are in a topic, etc. A lot of the video makers that get flack, to me, aren't genuine in their videos. I got top 5, whatever. And it's, that person oftentimes is not an expert. Some of us, I don't call myself an old head because I don't identify even remotely being old, but I guess I kind of am in the hobby. These guys that showed up a year or so ago and all of a sudden are a self-proclaimed expert, or at least carry themselves in a way as such an expert. These folks will give you the top 5, and maybe they know one sport, they collected that for a while, but now they're trying to put out content across multiples, and they will just jack up aspects of a card or of a sport that is portrayed on that card, and it's just like you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're just getting the attention, getting the clicks, whatever like that. That does bother me a good bit. For the most part, I just don't even watch their videos and stuff like that. There's obviously a couple that do kind of create some trends or some buzz in the hobby, so I pay attention to what's going on, see what their videos are titled and things like that. But not a big fan of people that aren't genuine. That's just pet peeve. And that's just probably just life in general, right? But obviously there's a couple in the hobby. This one was brought up in a couple of other videos, but comps. And hopefully these thoughts come to my mind a little bit as I think about it. But not just, hey, this is what it is. You should have if you're selling a card, you should have what's in mind and things, but what you want to sell it for, and you shouldn't just budge based on what some recent thing was. But all of that just drives me bonkers to a certain degree. Say if I'm going to a show and the last PSA 10 on this went this, so that's my price. Okay, what are we looking at? Oh, you looked at eBay for comps. Okay, well, eBay took 13% of whatever that hell that was. Why am I paying you 13% when, that isn't part of your, your margins now, right? Like you're getting more profit from doing that. I expect a little kickback from that. Now, I get when you go to shows and things like that, there are some overhead costs, but I don't think I should get that 100% of the time, all of that, especially since, if you price it poorly, that increases your overhead, right? Because you just took it to 10 shows. You in your mind as a seller may be thinking, oh, I gotta take this to 10 different shows to finally sell it. Well, if you priced it different, it wouldn't be that much overhead, right? I see it in Razes and things like that on Facebook and stuff like that. They'll be like, last comp did $90, so here's 10 spots at $11. Like, where the hell did you just come up with that? Plus, You're not losing any fees or anything like that. Or if they just come out with something off the cuff, well, this one's out of 25, and the last one that was out of 50 is this. We're like, yeah, but this, you're out of 25 is HGA or, Redneck Grading Company or something like that, and this was a PSA whatever, or an SGC whatever, or something like that. Just people come up with outlandish things for comps, and I don't like overall trying to push the comp to you. Now, it works on certain cards. There are certain cards that we have in this hobby that are just commodities. There's even a PSA registry set, or a couple of them for the PSA 200. They're just top 250 cards. I like a PSA 200. Probably that was the intent of kind of creating like a little index or something like that. There are cards, the Zion Prism PSA 10. That is a commodity. I will be a little bit more convinced if you try to go comp on me on that one. 89 Scoreberry PSA 9 or PSA 10 or whatever, SGC 9. There's enough of those. I don't know how many SGCs graded, but there's enough of those. I'm not trying not to push PSA too much here because I know people get a little salty about those things. So I don't want to push, I don't want to trigger anybody out there with their own pet peeves of my PSA fandom or whatever. But those cards you can comp that to me because it becomes a commodity when it is, there's a lot of relative certainty to what you're talking about in that aspect. You get lower in grades, the less any comp is similar to another one, right? We talk about it all the time, buy the card, not the grade or whatever. The relative disparity of these things is massive. I can have a PSA 3 that looks like a 7, and I can have a PSA 3 that, got lucky that the bullet grazed it at a different angle, and so comps is real sketchy with that. And then, I don't know, if you don't want to talk about flexing or budging or whatever like that, then I don't know, just put a sticker on it as opposed to randomly, quoting me a comp that you just looked up 2 seconds ago. A lot of those pricing things throw me off there. But a biggest one, I think, is when somebody's selling in a platform that is not eBay, that does not cost them significant fees, and somehow is still trying to pass on eBay comp fees over to me. If you're quoting a comp at an auction house and there are auction premiums and things like that tossed in there, don't quote that to me as part of the comp because you don't have that cost. Shipping was brought up to about a lot of people in their videos. Not too much bothers me about the shipping because I have a relatively understanding. Obviously, if they do something stupid, like you pay a bunch, if I pay $40 for a raw card, I want at least a nice top loader and a piece of cardboard in there, right? I've gotten some, penny sleeves on once or twice for things like that. I do heavily favor painter's tape, the blue, or there's a green out there, I think. But tape, especially if it's directly on the holder or something like that, where I'm working so hard, unless I've got the X-Acto knife to perfectly trim this thing out, that I'm in, there's a possibility I bend the card trying to free it from whatever the packaging was. That is ridiculous. I hate when it was a perfectly good top loader clearly at the beginning of this, especially if it was a top loader inside a team bag, and then they put all this tape on there, and it's like you just ruined so many good, items that could have been used, because I like to reuse this stuff if I can. Now, I'm not feeling bad if it comes in a yellow top loader or something like that. Hey, you had what you had, you protected it, good on you, I'll put it in a fresh one. But I do hate if it was a previously good one before you started shipping and now it's all jacked up. That one drives me nuts. And then Mike in his video brought up he does like a flat rate shipping of $4 or something like that, and he dislikes anything above that. I'm not necessarily on that wavelength. I just want it to match whatever. If you charge me $10, there better be some premium, that'll be a first class flat rate box, super nice. It better be a card worth even bothering for the $10, and so that you're throwing an extra buck or two for shipping and handling, or it better be insured. And then I get it, because I see that if it's a $10 card sometime, or $10 shipping, I'm like, yeah, that's probably an expensive card. That means they're probably going to insure it. And then I just expect to see that on the back end. I've paid $6 or $7 for shipping before, and then got the PWE, and that'll drive me bonkers. But if it's somewhat close, I just expect to receive, what I paid for to a certain degree there. Shows, I don't go to enough card shows, I guess, but I've been to a fair number. And it was brought up in a couple other videos. People showing up with Pelican cases and things like that. I think it's just a combination of that situation that can turn into a pet peeve for me. If they take over the whole space, that table is only one seller and they have multiple things, and now nobody else can do any interaction because that one person is only working their table, as opposed to, if a seller or something is there and wants to be a buyer as well, then, if they're really open to that, they should have brought a second person to work some of the tables with them or something like that. And plus, it goes along with pricing. If you've got displays and stuff, then you should have priced some of your stuff. And then that decreases the interaction time that I need to have with you, because there is less time with you dealing with all these folks doing the selling and stuff like that, walking up with the Pelican cases. So it's just that combination interaction. I am faulting you if you've got some stuff to move and you're bringing your Pelican case or whatever, but somewhere in that scenario, it has to be a balance, and I put that on the vendor to create that balance in some way. So with the lack of that, that bothers me. I do like to see if it's slabbed up and stuff like that, especially higher end stuff, because you're not budging too much on those things or whatever. I'd love to see more sticker prices on those. I do not enjoy haggling that much, so that's a little bit more for me why I dislike that. I just want to see the price. If I can see across the board that you're just way over, I just keep it straight moving. Maybe that's not good for the vendor, and that's why they don't do that. But it helps me a lot, because I don't like that back and forth. I know what the prices are. I am an eBay fiend. I know what comps are and stuff just in the Rolodex, right? So I just like to do that quick scan, see what you got. Your prices are around, or your prices are up 10% more than they should, but you probably can flex. If I talk to you, then I know. But if you're already up 25, 30%, I just keep it moving. So that helps me. But I temper that expectation a lot, because I don't ask anybody to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And some of the volume that these folks have and stuff, because if you are trying to make card selling your income source, it's a volume game, right? So the hours and time and tediousness there is to price all of these things is very significant. So I temper those expectations very significantly on how high end the card is and stuff like that. But I do also make a point, because of that, if somebody has got $5 boxes or whatever, those types of sorting boxes or anything like that, if there is a high level of detail and time and spent into that, and usually it's pretty clear, I make a point, if I can see that person, to, even if I'm not buying something, if it wasn't my box, wasn't nothing for me or whatever, to compliment them on that, because that's just something I would probably not get myself around to do, where it's a brand new top loader, brand new penny sleeve, brand new team bag, perfectly marked price or whatever. I'm fearful for vendors for some of those, because you can easily, especially if somebody's there with their Pelican case distracting you, you got a $1 box, a $2 box, a $5 box. All of a sudden I got 3-4 from each different ones. And, I'm sure some people definitely okey doke those vendors with where they got the boxes from and stuff like that. So, vendors got to protect themselves with some of that pricing, but I understand the difficulties in doing that. I think my last one I'll go with is patience. Lack of patience is a pet peeve of mine within the hobby. And it manifests itself in a bunch of different ways. I think those that have been in the hobby a long time have this patience. But we all sometimes pick and choose what we're willing to be patient with as well. So I get it a lot, and I'm not a PSA apologist, but obviously they took a damn long time with a lot of people's cards for several years and stuff like that. I got cards that have only been there almost 60 or so days that are on step 7 of 8, so they're catching up or whatever. We'll see how they finish that off, but they've been given the business for taking too long, and I completely wholeheartedly agree with that. But I'll counter some of that with there are guys that buy a prospect baseball card for a guy that just broke into the league this year. In 2017, you were hunting this guy's stuff down and prospecting him, and you waited 5 years to see if he was any good in the big leagues. When you throw that out there, 12 months isn't forever for a slab card to come back. That's just one example. Obviously, there's a ton of it, of just people getting upset because returns aren't as good, something's losing value, or it's not increasing fast enough. The people that do the hype and the hoopla and everything like that. And it's like, if you exercise some patience, all of these key cards, Hall of Fame rookies, those types of things, that the dividends will come with that patience. So now I get it. Again, that lack of patience creates clickbait. It creates energy and animosity of interest or whatever in videos and content and stuff. So I know people probably over embellish where their patience is or is not, but I just felt like I ought to put that one out there a little bit. There's a lot of other things that we're perfectly okay with, and then all of a sudden we'll say something a little bit different on some other level of patience. So because I don't know, I had some stuff at PSA forever, and it seems always even more forever, because that card that I sent, I didn't get it the week before I sent it. I got it the year or two or whatever, and I had traded it through different piles and stuff and sorting it. All right, yeah, this one's getting closer to me being excited or about it or wanting it graded, so it went from the top loader to the card saver or something like that. Cards will sit on my desk for 2 years or something before they even get sent off. So I'm approaching it from such a patience point. It don't bother me none at all. Now, if you are, a major source of income person on these types of things, yeah, that can be frustrating, but cards can tank or the opposite while there. So you just got to be patient through all of it. So lack of patience kind of gets me a little bit sometimes. But other than that, I'll leave it there. That's been plenty of time, plenty of talking or whatever. But happy to hear more. If you want to leave it in the comments, happy to hear, hopefully some other folks doing VR responses. Obviously, Mike Baseball Collector's got 6,000 subscribers, so I'm sure he'll get plenty of video responses. But those are my 2 cents. Thanks for watching. How about them Niners over the weekend? Terps are 4-1, beat Michigan State. I'm digging that as well. So until next time, later.